Could you please state your full name?
And Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands.
Jeffrey Epstein didn't become powerful because he was famous. He became powerful because he had access. And here's the part that should bother you. Epstein didn't have a public empire, no household name company, no product the world could point to. Yet he lived like a billionaire. So the real question was never, who was Epstein? The real question was, where did the money come from? And what was it buying? Because if money is the fuel, then access is the engine. And Epstein had more access than people who built real companies. So, how? Let me ask you a question. If a man with no clear public business can move through elite circles like he owns the place, what exactly was he providing? Because it wasn't a product, it was something far more valuable: access, silence, leverage. And in the real world, those three things are worth more than any stock. This story isn't about fame. It's about a system. Because Epstein wasn't the end of the pipeline. He was the middle, a connector, a broker, a man who understood one rule of elite power. If you control introductions, you control influence. And once you control influence, money follows. This is Dark Money Files, special report. Epstein, the money trail, how power was bought. At first glance, Epstein's rise makes no sense. He starts as a nobody, a college dropout. Then somehow, he's teaching at an elite private school in Manhattan. Not years later, early, and that school is filled with the children of the wealthy and connected. That's where the pipeline begins. Because in worlds like that, you don't need a resume. You need proximity. And Epstein's next move was even more important. After teaching, he pivots into finance. He ends up on Wall Street, and the pattern becomes clear. Epstein wasn't trying to be impressive. He was trying to be useful. And in elite circles, useful people don't get exposed. They get protected. So he positioned himself as an advisor, a fixer, a financial mind, someone who could quietly solve problems. And every powerful world has the same two types of people. People who want attention and people who will pay anything to avoid it. Epstein built his entire value between those two groups. Now, let's follow the money, because the internet loves theories. But money has something theories don't: paper trails. And the key is to keep it simple. Public reporting points to a few realities that explain how Epstein could live like a billionaire without building a public empire. Money trail point number 1, the billionaire patron. One name shows up again and again in the early money story: Leslie Wexner, the retail billionaire behind the Victoria's Secret empire. Epstein wasn't just around Wexner, he had unusual access. And what's been reported publicly is that Wexner gave Epstein extraordinary control. So much control that when it broke, it ended in a major settlement. If you want to understand Epstein's rise, you start with the first door that opened. Because once one billionaire treats you like an insider, other powerful people stop asking questions. They assume you're vetted. Money trail point number 2, the advisor story. Wait, Epstein's public explanation for wealth was always some version of, I advise ultra-wealthy clients. And here's what most people miss. In that world, wealth doesn't come from paychecks. It comes from private arrangements, trusts, fees, tax structures, deals that never hit the public record. And that creates a perfect environment for something dark: money that can't easily be explained to the public. Money trail point number 3, the access economy. This one is the most important. Epstein didn't just manage money, he traded introductions. And in elite circles, a single introduction can be worth more than $1 million, because introductions create partnerships, investments, protection, and silence. So Epstein didn't need a visible company. His network was the business. If your product is access to powerful rooms, then your customers will protect you. Because if you fall, their names might fall with you. And this is where the story shifts from mystery into something colder. Because once Epstein reached a certain level, he didn't have to prove he belonged. People assumed he did. And assumptions are dangerous. Because once someone is treated as inside, people stop checking credentials. They stop asking how. They stop asking why. They stop asking what the money was buying. Now let's talk about the banking side, because it's one of the clearest money trail signals. Here's what matters for the viewer. Epstein maintained relationships with major banks even after serious red flags were known. And banking relationships aren't just accounts. They're services, movement, cash, transfers. And that matters because banks are where money turns from rumors into transactions. This is why the phrase "follow the money" exists. Because money doesn't care about reputation. It cares about access. It cares about access. And here's the most uncomfortable part of the entire Epstein story. Epstein didn't grow because nobody knew. He grew because enough people chose not to ask. Because the system rewarded silence and punished questions. So the question becomes, was Epstein powerful because he was rich? Or was Epstein rich because he was powerful? Because there's a difference. A rich man buys things. A powerful man buys silence. And this is how power gets bought in the real world, not with one dramatic payment, but through small steps. Step 1, become trusted. Step 2, become useful. Step 3, become protected. Step 4, become untouchable. And once someone becomes untouchable, the money trail becomes harder to see. The truth becomes optional. But every system like this eventually breaks. Not because it's weak, because someone slips. And once the collapse begins, everyone wants closure. But money trails don't give closure. They give patterns. They show who benefited, who enabled, who looked away. And the lesson is bigger than Epstein. Epstein wasn't an accident. He was a symptom of a world where access is traded like currency. So if you want to understand modern power, don't look at who's trending. Look at who's connected. Look at who disappears from headlines, but never loses access. Because dark money doesn't shout, it whispers. And Epstein's money trail proves something chilling. If access can be bought, then truth can be buried. And the next Dark Money Files case is about a breakthrough that made people believe. Investors, media, everyone, until one detail cracked and the entire miracle fell apart. Subscribe now, so you're the first to get the next case file the moment it drops.